I'm here at Trinity Cathedral in Trenton for the election of 12th Bishop of New Jersey. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me over the nice breeze we have outside the cathedral this afternoon. We've just elected we've just voted the first round. No one has the majority in either order yet. In order to be elected, the bishop would need to get a majority in both orders, both the lay and clergy. It might seem like a rather modern thing to do to elect our bishop. In many ways it is, but it's also a very ancient practice. That's how bishops were selected in the ancient church. St. Nicholas was elected, many others. And for us Episcopalians, I think it really represents the way that we understand the church to work. That it's not a hierarchical function, even though we do have the orders of bishop, priest, deacon, layperson. That it's not so much about layers of authority as the movement of the Spirit, and about the church as a whole being held accountable to the faithful. And that the Spirit moves in complicated and messy ways. And voting is complicated and messy. It doesn't have the sort of unity of vision that consensus has, for example, among the Quakers, or that doing what the Pope says would have among Roman Catholics. It's messy, it's divisive, but it allows for unity to be found within disunity, within diversity. And I think that's really something that's essential about the Episcopalian vision of what the church is. It allows for the Spirit to move in really messy ways. And it acknowledges that a lot of times we get things wrong. A post-liberal, progressive Episcopalian myself would point at things like the election of Bishop Gene Robinson as the movement of the Spirit. But we also have to recognize that in some complicated way, the Spirit's also at work in, say, the Synod of the Church of England, dragging its feet on the ordination of female bishops. But I know an integral element of my Christian faith is definitely the sense that God is intimately at work within the processes and the dialectics of human history. And it's at events like this that happens. So I'm really honored to be here and part of that. Of course, by the time I get home and post this, we'll have a bishop, and I'll put whoever that is in the comments. But for the moment, I pray that this convention be faithful to the call of the Spirit, and we are able to discern how she is moving. Hallelujah. So I'm home. It's about 3 hours later, maybe a little bit more than that. And we have a bishop-elect. Congratulations to Bishop-elect William H. Stokes, Chip. And I'll say that it was a very encouraging experience watching the people wait through 5 ballots, I think, were cast, as we began to try and discern more fully where the Spirit was leading us. And perhaps unsurprisingly, we were all very glad to get out once we felt the Spirit had spoken. One thing happened, I mentioned this on Twitter, that was a little interesting. There was a woman in the pew behind me who at one point pointed out to me that I was the youngest person I saw at the convention. I don't know if I was actually the youngest person at the convention, which in some ways is problematic, she pointed out. This bishop is a bishop that needs to be a bishop for everybody, but in a certain sense, especially for my generation. If a bishop can't speak to my generation, to the generations that are younger than me, to the generations that are only just barely older than me, we have a problem. Now, I don't think any of the candidates on the slate were particularly good at that or particularly bad at that, or I don't have any real reason to worry. But it is something that I'm glad she was keeping in mind, because it's something which is becoming a systemic problem in the Episcopal Church as our congregations grow older. We need to be able to reach out to my generation in ways that make sense, not glomming onto the first person under 30 that we see and expecting them to have the answers of how to speak to everybody else their age. But sort of be authentically ourselves, authentically Episcopalian if we're an older community, authentically that, in a way that's also able to be welcoming and attractive to the younger generations. And that's not easy to do. I recognize that. So I'm glad that was on at least somebody's mind. But I look forward to serving under Bishop-elect. Not serving under, I don't have any position in the church. But being a member of his flock and looking up to his spiritual leadership. So God bless Bishop-electship. God bless the Diocese of New Jersey. And God bless all of us. Hallelujah.